My name is Alexis. I'm sitting here, still shaken, thinking about how my life took an unexpected turn that fateful night. It was just another evening after a long double shift at the veterinary clinic where I work as a veterinary assistant. My back ached from bending over examination tables all day, and my scrubs reeked of disinfectant. All I wanted was to get home, take a hot shower, and call my fiancé, Jake, before he started his overnight security patrol. I had no inkling that as I merged onto the highway, my world was about to crumble. It all started 3 days ago. My younger sister, Lily, called me, sobbing uncontrollably. She's always like this when she's in a bind. She blurted out that she was behind on her credit card bills, and the creditors were threatening to take legal action. She claimed she had nowhere else to turn, and the amount she needed was $20,000. I listened patiently, staying silent for what felt like an eternity. Then, I said no. It wasn't because I didn't love her. I could feel her desperation through the phone. But I'd lent Lily money 5 times before. Once for a new wardrobe she wanted for a job interview, but she never got the job. Twice for rent, once for a vacation she took with her friends, and once for a pet grooming business that lasted only a month. Not a single cent had been returned. This time, $20,000 was more than 3 months of my salary. It was the money I'd saved for the down payment on the house Jake and I planned to buy after our wedding in the fall. Lily wailed even louder, but I stood my ground. She hung up on me. Within an hour, my mother called. She has a sharp tongue and a quick temper. She berated me, saying I was heartless and selfish. She said I had no loyalty to my family. Then my father called. He's a stoic man, but this time he was furious. He told me I should be ashamed of myself for turning my back on my sister. I tried to explain that I had my own limits, that loving them didn't mean sacrificing my own future. But they wouldn't listen. By the end of the night, I was blocked on everyone's phone except my mother's. She continued to send me long, scathing text messages about how much of a failure I was. I stopped answering and went to work, trying to focus on my patients and push the pain away. 3 days passed. On that third evening, I clocked out just after 9 p.m. I climbed into my car, a silver Toyota Corolla that I'd bought with my hard-earned money, registered and insured in my name. As I pulled onto the main road, the radio played softly in the background. I was daydreaming about our wedding, whether we should have a beach wedding or a garden one, and what kind of flowers to choose. Suddenly, red and blue lights flashed in my rear-view mirror, accompanied by a piercing siren. My stomach dropped. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but my body reacted instinctively. I pulled over immediately, turned on my hazard lights, and placed both hands on the steering wheel. Another security vehicle pulled up in front of me, blocking my way. I realized this was no ordinary stop. I heard a voice over the loudspeaker, "Driver, keep your hands visible and do not reach for anything." My hands were already trembling. I pressed them flat against the steering wheel and stared straight ahead. I saw an officer approaching from behind, his hand near his holster. A hard tap on the window made me jump. I turned my head slowly, every nerve in my body on high alert. When the officer leaned down to the window level and pulled off his sunglasses, I was shocked to see Jake. His face was a mix of anger and concern. In a soft voice, completely different from his security guard voice, he said, "Honey, what did they do now?" I couldn't speak. Tears welled up in my eyes and streamed down my face. I just let the sobs out. Jake stood up straight, looked at his partner, and said 3 words that I'll always remember. Then he turned his body camera towards my parents' house, which was less than 2 miles away, and made a call. What happened in the next 40 minutes changed my perspective on everything. Jake didn't raise his voice once. He remained calm and professional, documenting everything. His partner, Officer Diaz, stood nearby, looking uncomfortable as she listened to Jake explain the situation. Jake had run my plates as soon as the call came in. He knew my car was registered in my name, all the paperwork was in order, and there was no way it could have been stolen from my parents' property. The report my parents had filed claimed that I'd taken the car without permission and that it was missing from their driveway. But the truth was, I hadn't parked my car there in over 6 months. It was a blatant lie. Filing a false security report is a serious offense. Jake called his supervisor and explained the facts without any emotion. The supervisor told him to document everything and that someone would follow up with the complainants. Jake then came back to my window and crouched down so we were eye to eye. He asked if I was okay. I said I didn't know. He asked if I wanted to tell him what had happened. I took a deep breath and told him the whole story, from Lily's call to my parents' angry words. He listened intently, without interrupting. When I finished, he was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Alexis, they used the security as a weapon against you. I can't ignore this, not as your fiancé and not as an officer." I understood what he meant, but it was hard. They were still my family, after all. That same night, 2 officers visited my parents' house. I wasn't there, but Jake told me later what happened. My mother opened the door and tried to claim it was a misunderstanding. She said she thought I'd taken the car without telling her. The officer pointed out that the car was never registered at their address and asked her to explain how she thought it was stolen. My father came to the door and made the mistake of saying too much. He mentioned the argument about the money and said he thought I needed to be taught a lesson. The officer documented everything. My parents weren't arrested that night, but they were formally cautioned. The false report was flagged, and they were told that any future false reports could lead to criminal charges. Lily called me 2 days later, not to apologize, but to say that I'd embarrassed the family. I listened to her and then calmly told her that I loved her, but I wouldn't tolerate being spoken to that way. I ended the call. The months that followed were tough. There were times when I missed my mother so much that it felt like a physical ache. Jake and I had many late-night conversations about family, boundaries, and what it means to love someone who hurts you. We didn't cancel our wedding. The following fall, we had a small, intimate ceremony with our close friends, Jake's family, and a few members of my extended family who reached out to say they were sorry for what had happened. My parents weren't there. It still stings sometimes, but I know I gave them a chance to make things right, and they chose not to. I still leave the door open, hoping for a message from them. I'm not sure if that door will ever fully close, but I've learned that love doesn't mean accepting abuse. Protecting myself isn't the same as abandoning my family. And on that dark highway, with red and blue lights and shaking hands, the person who stood by me completely was the man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. Sometimes, love isn't about flowers and sweet words, it's about a man in uniform, seeing the truth and standing up for you. Jake never forced me to choose between my peace and my family. He just stood beside me as I learned that I deserve both, and I can survive even if I get neither. This kind of love doesn't make the pain go away, but it gives me the strength to carry it.